So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you're listening to us from. So this is Qalam Radio, and of course we've got another exclusive interview with a very lovely guest today. So today we are honored to have with us a distinguished academic and seasoned professional and a visionary leader. His name is Dr Salisu Shehu Umar, the Rector of Auchi Polytechnic. So Dr. Umar holds a PhD in statistics from Ambrose ID University at Qalam and has over 2 decades of experience in academia, including roles as a chief lecturer at Auchi Polytechnic and Kaduna Polytechnic. He is a prolific scholar and a member of several professional bodies, and of course is dedicated to community service. So welcome to our studio, Dr. Umar.
Thank you very much.
So what do you have to say to our listeners before we start with this interview today?
Thank you very much. Only thing I want to say is to welcome myself to this Qalam Radio and also to tell our listeners that this is a very good opportunity for me to have a word or two with regards to polytechnic education, as the case may be, that people do not actually seen as a progressive educational venture. But I am very sure after the discussion today, some of us will actually want their children to leave the universities and come to the polytechnic, facing the current realities of life in Nigeria today.
Indeed, that's really all right. So I want to ask you a question. Like, before you became the rector, you were a lecturer in statistics. What was your experience like?
I started my life sojourn in Auchi Polytechnic when I came here as a copper in 1994-95 session. And since then, I have been in class up to 2019. I have so many pleasant experiences, challenges, and whatever. But in academics, it's normal for you to have actually challenges. What matters is how do you now tackle the challenges? How did you face the challenges? So as an academic staff, first of all, you need to know that you have a lot of hurdles. And you don't wait for anybody to advise you before you can think about solution to cross those hurdles. What are those hurdles? As an academic staff, you need to study. First of all, to be able to deliver. Then you also need to study for yourself, to be able to progress from one cadre to the other, from one scale to the other. So all these things are normal challenges, which I don't actually see as challenges because they are normal process of life. Then along the line, you need to also have some certain visions for yourself. What do I want to be? Am I just an academic without thinking about what impact I have on my own students and the community at large? So those are some of the things that you have to, questions that you have to ask yourself. What value do I need to add to this society? What will be my contribution after my leaving this society or after leaving this world? What will people see to say, yes, this was what so person has done? So when I was actually a common lecturer, I didn't look at myself as somebody who is not technically oriented. Because of my course of study. No. I know that I'm a scientist by my orientation, so I have to actually do whatever a scientist should do so as to contribute my little quota to the society. I actually lectured. And apart from lectures, I also involved myself in some practical aspects of life. I was the first person in the history of Auchi Polytechnic that has developed some instruments for my department to be used for practical processes. I was the first person in the history of Nigeria that built what they call a binomial machine that statisticians use for their probability experiments. And also the first person that has built a BMI machine in the whole of Nigerian polytechnics. No any other polytechnic has it before my building of such machines. So I tried as much as possible to see myself as a practical person more than just theoretical academic person. And if we now go to the line of research where we are expected to perform, well, I won't say I'm the best, or I won't say I've done so much, but I know, comparing with my own contemporaries, I think I will be one of the best if you compare. At my stage, from my lecturer 1, I had over 40 publications when I was a lecturer 1. I could remember very well when there was a vacancy for principal lecturer. I told my dean that I want to apply because I just have 3 months to become a senior lecturer. He said, no. So within themselves, they were just contemplating, because people sees me as quite a serious person. I acknowledge that. People sees me as somebody who is more into business line than academics. But I know who I am, I know what I want, I know what I should achieve. So he mockingly told me to go and bring my CV. When I brought my CV, he saw that I have over 40 publications. He said, wow. But there was nothing they could do because they had somebody they prefer. So I was just given a senior lecturer, which for me, I was contented with. Fine, it goes. And I can also tell you that when I left Auchi Polytechnic, I'm very much among the few individuals that has international journals. And to now, I can tell you that even when I became the rector of the Auchi Polytechnic, I did not stop my research attitude. To my credit, I have over 80 internationally recognized publications. I have over 40 national journals, and I have over 30 academic conference papers. And that's what an academician should be. So I saw myself an academician, but when I became the rector, I see myself more of a technical person rather than an academician, because I happen to find myself in a technical institution. And looking at the Nigerian concept today, we are just so much in trouble if we decided to base our academic attainment just on the number of papers we have actually produced. The time has come when we have to phase out research written papers and face research working academics, where we use our hands and brain to develop some certain machineries, equipment that will help us grow better than we are before and better than we are now.
Indeed. I think from what you've said so far, we've seen a lot of dedication in education, and you talked about practical knowledge being more important than research papers that people just like write down. So it's really impressive what you've been telling us so far. So I also have another question, like having lived in Auchi for like more than 2 decades, can you now call yourself like an Auchi man?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I am an Auchi person. I have integrated myself so well in Auchi to an extent whereby I have a house I call my own family house in Auchi, in Iyeki. And also, I have been crowned as a high chief in the palace. So what else do I need to become an Auchi man? I am the giver of Auchi presently. So I have all that it takes to call myself an Auchi. And I have never one day dissociated myself from Auchi people, never. And I will never do that. So when I have to come back to become the rector of Auchi Polytechnic, I told the people, I am going back home. Because this is where I actually grew up. This is where I found my feet. And this is where I became what I am today. I only went on sabbatical, let me put it that way. I went on sabbatical to Kaduna Poly, where I've just spent barely 2 years, and I came back home. So I told my persons just last week that, you have children in my house. My first son will be joining them to do age group in the next coming Salah, inshallah. to tell people that, yes, I am practically an Auchi person.
Oh, wow. That's quite impressive, joining the age group and all. Okay, thank you. So, as a rector, what is the journey for you so far? What has been your journey so far as the rector of Auchi Polytechnic?
Yes, thank you very much. I have started the journey. I'm at the middle of the journey, and I will continue until when I get to the end of my tenure. My journey for this Auchi Polytechnic is to make Auchi Polytechnic one of the best institutions around the globe. And I have started the journey by building some basic infrastructures. That when you see Auchi Polytechnic 3 years back and see Auchi Polytechnic today, nobody will tell you that Auchi Polytechnic has passed through some reformations. They are quite vivid, they are quite obvious, and everybody can see them and judge. But above all, I want to revolutionize education in Auchi Poly. I want to turn around the educational system of Auchi Polytechnic by making it a productive polytechnic rather than just an academic knowledge polytechnic. These days, what we have is how many projects do you have, not how many degrees do you have. Skills is our watchword, and is my watchword. I want to make sure that Auchi Polytechnic has become one of the institutions in Nigeria today that when you see 3 persons outside that are employing people, 3 young men that are employing people, 1 should come from Auchi Polytechnic. Because of the way and nature, we want to now reposition Auchi Polytechnic and make skills to take the central role it's supposed to take. We are facing a lot of problems in Nigeria today simply because we have been able to throw away the skill aspects of academics. We have just decided to invite on the theoretical aspect of education, and that will not take a developing nation like Nigeria anywhere. So by God's grace, I am the first among the first 3 polytechnics in Nigeria that have started a skill acquisition program. Last year we have graduated over 15,000 students that are going to be certified with qualification, skill qualification, and with that they can go outside this country and use their certificate of skill acquisition and gain employment if they wish to. If they don't wish to, they can use that to establish themselves. By God's grace, the idea of Auchi Polytechnic students to have gone outside carrying their files, going around to look for a job will soon be a thing of the past, because we have built a robust system, robust workshops and laboratories that we are now training our students to gain certificates on skills. So that when they leave this environment, they will say, yes, I can actually survive even without my parents. I have gone to school, I have learned, and I am willing to stand on by myself and do myself a lot of good. And that is what the vision I have for the polytechnics. And if you go there in the polytechnic, you would have able to see what we are putting on ground to actually make these my visions to come to reality.
Indeed. Talking even about the vision, we do see the NSQ program that the Auchi Poly has set up, and a lot more that I'm sure if people really check into it, they'll see that even going to the Polytechnic isn't really as they thought it was, thinking it was not up to standard as the universities. But now, based on what you've said, we've seen it's even looking as it's what parents should be taking their children to currently. So, from the dichotomy or the division between the degree and HND, what would you say about this?
Yeah, it is a long-standing issue that may not also end soon if drastic steps are not taken. By the way, I have not seen anything that somebody wants to tell me that should have been the differentials between the Polytechnic HND and BSc from the universities. Looking at it from people's mind is what I'm going to speak before I start to speak my own mind. People's mind just assume that if you go to Polytechnic, you are a second fiddle. The federal government of Nigeria also look at it from that perspective. When you go to Polytechnic, you are being rated as a second fiddle. But not a school like Auchi Polytechnic. Auchi Polytechnic has whatever university has and even more. In terms of academic staff, in terms of laboratories, in terms of lectures, halls and whatever. But that is not what we are talking about here. What we are talking about here is what people perception about the Polytechnic and the university education. In the National Board of Technical Education today, we have one slogan. And what is it? Skills, but not degrees. We are no longer after how many degrees you have. We are after how many skills have you have acquired that will be meaningful to the society. The dichotomy, like I've said, is a long history problem, and be it as it may, the federal government is not willing and not ready to actually face it out. We have met severally, we have proposed solutions severally to the federal government. This dichotomy you are saying, tomorrow you go to National Assembly and said HND and BSc are the same, is not possible. You go to the radio station and said HND and BSc are the same, is not possible. The possible thing about it is, have you provide an enabling environment that will equalize the two of them? What matters is, if you want to actually remove the dichotomy, there are ways you can do it. And what is that way? Allowed the Polytechnic to take its own direction. The university can take its own direction. But what you should do is to allow the Polytechnic graduates to aspire to the highest level of their career. But if they are not truncated, simply because they are executive cadre, you say they cannot pass level 14. But you allow somebody with a degree to go to level 15, 16 and whatever. Then what action are you taking? You have already created the dichotomy. But let us maintain the administrative cadre that is taken by the degree graduates, and take the executive cadre that is taken by the HND graduates, but allow them to progress to the highest level. You allow the BSc to progress to level 16, allow the HND to progress to level 16. If you have that, nobody will want to convert from executive to administrative cadre. Nobody wants to convert. That is one. Two, in some of the developed nations like UK, even South Africa here, Ghana, China in 2014, they converted 1,400 universities to the polytechnics. If you go to Singapore, they are still operating polytechnic system. But how do you normalize them? Give the polytechnic the mandate to also progress beyond HND. Allow the polytechnics to have their own academic system that will allow them to progress to whatever level. We can have what we call bachelors of technology. And these bachelors of technology should start from the polytechnics. Truncate the HND, push the HND away, and allow our students to have their ND so that they can be technically and vocationally sound. Then they can go for their bachelors of technology in the polytechnics. And then from there they can progress. When you look at it from other angles, you see that, okay, what are we now talking about? We are talking about the academics of excellence. Can you now compare Auchi Polytechnic with any of the universities that are within our own environment in terms of qualified academic staffs? Of course you cannot. If you go to Department of Accountancy, we have over 12 PhD holders. Go to other universities around us and see. They are scrambling to have 2, 3. If you go to the Department of Statistics, where I came from, we are about 22 in number. About 10 of us are PhD holders. Go to any university around us and see. Go to mechanical engineering. They have well over 8-9 PhD holders. What do you need in academics that will now allow people to award master's degree, PhD, and whatever? If you become a professor, professor is just like becoming a chief lecturer. It's just career progression, nothing more than that. All you need is a PhD that we have here in abundance. We have a department that only 2 people are not PhD holders. So you could see that it's just a self-made dichotomy that has been created, not based on the reality of academic excellence, but just based on the fact that the government does not want to equalize these two systems. We have everything. The polytechnic system has everything. If you go to committee of polytechnic rectors, all the 36 polytechnic rectors are PhD holders, and chief lecturers, which is equivalent to the professional cadre. So people should just look at it. If I have a child today and the child, I want to bring him up, I will certainly allow him to go through the polytechnic. Why? Because I think that is what will make him a self-reliant person. How many of the universities that you see, even they are graduates from engineering, how many of them that we can boast of that they can sit down and do 1 or 2 things with their hands? Because the skill aspect of it is lacking in the university. But the skill aspect of academics is what you have standing in the polytechnic system. And with this our mantra now, that skills, not degree, I can assure you in the next 5 years, polytechnic system will be an envy of the Nigerian academic system.
I do see that dream in what you said. I really do see it. So what are your future plans for Auchi Polytechnic though? Yes,
my future plan, like I have said at the beginning of this, is to make Auchi Polytechnic one of the best institutions, not only in Nigeria, but compared with any other institution outside this country. Through attainments of multiple certificates by my students, where you attain the certificate of academics and you attain the certificate of skills, so that when you leave this place, you become a proud person. You raise your shoulder high and say, yes, I've graduated from Auchi Polytechnic, and you don't want your office work. I want also employ people. I don't want to be employed. That is my ambition. That is my vision for the Polytechnic. And I can tell you sincerely, with all sense of honesty, that I want to leave Auchi Polytechnic having the best digital system that any university or polytechnic should have. And we have started going through that road, because right now we have built 3 main ICT centers, and by God's grace we are going to equip them that will give us minimum of 1,000 computer sets, that our students can no longer do what they call this hand phone work, but they can go to the ICT centers and do their research. And by God's grace, Auchi Polytechnic will key into management learning system as from this section. Last year, we have started keying into the CBE, where all students of School of Information and Communication Technology did their exams using computer systems. That is our ambition. We want to make it a first-class institution. We have what we call Center of Distance Learning. We have started building up that school. The students don't need to come to school any longer. You don't need to come to school. You can stay where you are, get your ND and get your HND. And we have the capacity of doing that. And we have started that. Right now we have ND1, ND2, HND1, HND2 in almost about 6 departments. So the we have started mapping our roads to excellence, and by God's grace, we keep doing that. Only Auchi Polytechnic in the history of Nigeria that hosted 76 accreditation exercise from 76 programs and passed all the 76 accreditation at once. When I came 2022, between 2022 and 2023 February, I was able to put in place 12 new academic programs, and by 2024 I have also been able to put another 5 new academic programs and 8 degree programs through the linkage of ourselves and the University of Federal University Lokoja. Because we find out that there are some of us that are still yearning for degree programs, so we have been able to include that into our curriculum, and we have gotten accreditation of 8 new degree programs outside the 27 ND and HND programs I have actually put in place. So I just, like I said, I just want, by His grace, by God's grace, when I'm leaving Auchi Polytechnic, I will leave Auchi Polytechnic in a puttings that will be too difficult for any other institution around this country to beat.
Indeed. So we're not going to stress you for too long, because we're going to go on a short break so our listeners can take in what you've said so far. So to all those listening out there, if you're just tuning in, this is an exclusive interview with Dr. Salisu Shehu Umar, the Rector of Auchi Polytechnic. So do stay tuned. You're still listening to Qalam Radio right here on FM Alan. Okay, thank you very much for staying with us. You're still listening to Qalam Radio's exclusive interview with Dr. Umar. So today we're going to be diving into a topic that's critical for Nigeria's development, and that's polytechnic education, a panacea for socio-economic problem confronting Nigeria. So in a nation grappling with unemployment, skill gaps and economic challenges, we see that polytechnic education stands as a powerful tool for equipping Nigerians with practical, technical and vocational skills that can drive innovation, entrepreneurship and sustainable development. So Dr. Umar, could you shed more light on this topic for us, to our listeners, because they're really eager to hear from you?
Yeah, thank you very much. Polytechnic education, as you have actually readily said, is actually a step towards technological advancement through skills acquisition, technical skills, and that's what the polytechnic education actually meant for. And when you look at the Nigerian concept, you now try to say, can I marry these two together? We have socio-economic problems, which we all know about. If we look at our immediate environment, we could see that it's going away. If you look at the nation in totality, you could see the menace of these socio-economic issues everywhere you see in Nigeria. And what to actually say the worst is that the socio-economic problems are so diverse and with hydra-headed implications that affects us, to our own children. And how do we now solve it? Is it by developing some models in the universities that does not actually work? Is it by saying I have actually acquired a degree that will not actually be able to salvage you yourself, not talk of the society you came? Is it by saying that I have gone to school, I have come back, I have master's degree, I have this and that, yet you are roaming about the street looking for a job? Is it by you having to go and sell your land and go and buy computer system just because you want to go and learn this cyber crime? Those are not educational prospects that this country needs today. What this country needs today is the polytechnic education. Because it's only the polytechnic education that has the mandate to produce technicians, technologists that interprets whatever model that has actually been formulated. Formulating a model is one. Being able to interpret the model and put it in the practical aspect is another thing. And the polytechnic concept is that is saddled with the responsibility of transforming model to product. When you transform model to product, that is what the society needs today. Because a model can actually stay, everybody can be looking at it, everybody can be teaching it, but yet it will not be able to produce what the society will live on. But with the polytechnic education, you are very sure that you'll be able to pay for the society, make the society self-reliant, make the society to pay for themselves. Through what? Through innovations, by using your brain and your hands to produce this so much needed products. The concept of polytechnic education is that we should produce, not we should learn, research and bring out research output that will not mean anything towards production of goods and services. But with the concept of polytechnic education, you are trained to be able to produce, not to go into office, from one office to the other with your file looking for white collar job. What do you need white collar job for? How many white collar job persons have you seen that become rich in the world today? Look at the first 10 persons in the world today by ranking. How many of them are actually depending, or they became rich simply because they are working in one office or the other. No. 90% of them are manufacturers. 90% of them invent and develop the invention through the skills they have to achieve certain products. And that is what the polytechnic education meant. That is what the polytechnic education is. Let us look at our society, like I'm saying. It's because we are not ready or we are not prepared to face the concept of polytechnic education. That is why you see our children today, they will even have these slogans, who education help. Who education helps. Yes, it's correct. Tell me one person that says he has become rich without stealing simply because he's educated. As a lecturer, how much is my salary? What do you think will be able to feed my family from my salary and allowed me to save? Even if you are a banker, that is where you earn the money. How much is your salary? But let me tell you the truth. A fabricator that will fabricate this trolley, if you fabricate 10 in a month, he is very sure to have salary that is more than that of any professor or anybody you can think about. And that is what polytechnic education is all about. We have redefined the education in polytechnic now, that we have moved towards acquisition of skills, technical entrepreneurship, that at the end of the day, you are not only learning the skill, you will learn the skills, and you now become an entrepreneur with the knowledge of how you can sell these your skills that you have actually used to produce these items. I don't want to regionalize this concept to only Auchi Polytechnic, but sometimes it is necessary that I should give example with Auchi Polytechnic, because that is what is at our doorsteps now. I can tell you, from last year to this year, we have trained over 10,000 students. If there is nothing at all, we are very sure 3,000 out of those students will stand to establish and become employers of labor. If the country can now move towards that, don't you think there's going to be a multiplier effect? If we have only 2,000 students that graduate with these skills and employ 3,000 or 4,000, of course, before 10 years, you know that this multiplier effect will go over and over and over again. And with that one, the concept of saying, I want to go and buy a computer to go and learn how to defraud other people through cyber crime will actually not be there. We are into cyber crime because we don't have skills. That is just what it is. We are into these social vices simply because if we wake up in the morning, we don't have where we are going. We are into this economic crunch simply because we are too lazy to produce. And this laziness do not just start because you want to be lazy, but you are not trained to be productive. Most of the courses in the university today are courses that gear towards creation of laziness, because they don't have any iota of introducing students into becoming beneficial to themselves by gaining the technical know-how, the skill experience, which are lacking and can only be attained through the polytechnic education. I can tell you today, and you can quote me anywhere, the son of executive secretary of MBTE happens to gain skills. At least you can call his father as one of the persons that can get job for this young man. The father now called him to say, come and work in a federal inland revenue. The son told him, how much is the salary? He asked him, how much is the salary? He now told him that the salary may be around 400, 500,000 or thereabout. He just laughed at the father. He said, I'm making shoes. You know I'm making shoes. The shoes you are wearing, I made those shoes. I have 15 people in my employment list. I have employed that are working with me. I'm paying them 1.2 million every month. So I should now go and work that I will be paid less than what I'm paying people that are working on me. Say, Daddy, thank you very much with your job. Please, if you have somebody who wants it, you can give to me. And there are thousands of them like that that has actually graduated from this system and are doing very, very well without necessarily going through these white collar jobs. And how many do we have? How many of these white collar jobs are available in Nigeria today? The whole Nigerian civil service are not up to 70,000. When every year we roll out 700,000 graduates. Every year. There was a year we roll out 1.2 million graduates. Where are the jobs? As compared to 30 to 60 to 70,000 population that are gainfully employed. You could see that there's going to be a problem, a time bomb. And the only way that time bomb can be doused is actually when polytechnic education is given a place it's supposed to occupy. Let us bring up these children in the area of skills. Let us forget whatever we are thinking about. Let us build up a technologically advanced society. Let us bring up these our children with technological advancement and experience that will help them in their future. And the only way we can do that is actually through the basic training that is attained in the polytechnic system. I went to Singapore. I met ND students. I can assure you some of these motherboards you see that came from Singapore are actually developed by ND students. ND. What stops us from doing that? And I can assure you with time, Auchi Polytechnic will be seen as those institutions that will be able to produce those needed items. So the only way we can face out ourselves out of this nagging problem, out of this time bomb that we call socio-economic menace that are going on and on and on in Nigeria is when we actually build in a robust polytechnic education that will be able to face skills and turn its back from paper qualification. As from now on, any student that graduates from Auchi Polytechnic, like I have said in my introduction, is going to graduate with 2 certificates. It has a certificate of skill and a certificate of academics. We are not going to marry the two together to say, no, you have done this. No. This certificate of skills start from level 1 to level 9. And any of us who can attend to level 9, you are qualified PhD holder in skills. But we limit our own students to graduate as BSc equivalent in skill and HND equivalent in skill. So that when they leave this place and they go outside the country, they can be able to get a job. With all these things, some of them learn plumbing. If you go outside, they will ask you, yes, you learn plumbing, fine. Where is the certificate? You now show them the certificate you acquire from Auchi Polytechnic. And we are not the awarding certificates. We are not the awarding body for the certificate. It's National Board for Technical Education that award the certificates so that it can be universally accepted in the whole world. So that is how we intend to actually reposition the polytechnic graduates, that they should be able, that we will be able to help the society to rebuild itself, rather than living in a mirage dream that will never come true. And the only way such can be achieved is by having a robust polytechnic-based education.
Indeed. So I hope our listeners out there, you're listening to this and you're seeing the importance of a polytechnic other than just like the whole press scheme and the whole get-rich-quick stuff. So we do have a final question for you. What exactly is your impression on Qalam Radio?
Qalam Radio is a radio that I think is coming up and has already built up itself. Having been able to reposition the concept of radio station in this part of the country, certainly the sky is just the limit of the radio, because just like what we have been seeing in Brekete Radio, where they are being heard all over the world, so also Qalam Radio has been able to establish itself. Sometimes my friends from Canada will call me and say, Qalam Radio, do you heard about it? Yes, I know Qalam Radio is actually situated in my own domain in Auchi, Isako West. And they say, why? They are trying. They have very, very robust products, and people from this space of life are actually interested in the radio. I'm very sure when you assess the people that are enjoying the audios you are producing, you would have seen the geometric increase. It's no longer the additional increase, but the geometric increase in the number of people that listen to the radio. So I think it's actually, it has started in a very, very good footings, and I pray that it continues at this level it's going. Then we now know that we'll be boastfully saying that Qalam Radio is actually Qalam Radio, and it has actually merited the name Qalam.
Thank you very much. We do love your response on that. So, is there anything you love to say to our listeners out there globally, to the students listening to you, the women out there, the men, the children, everybody? Is there anything as a final word you'd like to say?
Yeah, my final words is that students, those listening to us outside this place, should not just write off polytechnic education. Should not write it off. I started from the Polytechnic. I am a product of the Polytechnic. You can become whatever you want to become if you are actually a product of Polytechnic. Don't just be oppressed and not allow anybody to oppress you. It is you who is having the academics, not the certificate you have. It is you who will present yourself and say, I am Dr. S.S. Umar, and I maintain I am Dr. S.S. Umar. Forget about the certificate you are having. Just think about what you can offer to the society. What will be your output? Your output is what matters, not just the number of degrees, or whether you go to Polytechnic, whether you go to university, that matters. It is you that matters. So don't just feel intimidated by anybody simply because you said you have actually came from the Polytechnic. But rather, raise your shoulder high that you are an employer of labor, not somebody who is looking for employment. Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much, Dr. Salisu Shehu Umar, for joining us today right here on Qalam Radio Studio. And to our listeners out there, we do hope you've learned that the Polytechnic it's not as you see it. It's not like it doesn't have less qualification than if you go to university. Because Polytechnic, you're going to learn a lot of skills other than even just the thing you're going to be learning. So do consider that just because you have a Polytechnic degree or a Polytechnic certificate doesn't mean that you're not going to be considered as anything. So thank you very much to all those who stayed tuned to this very moment. We do hope you continue to like what Qalam Radio has to offer you at every single point of the time. So to all those who listen, we'll say a very big thank you from Qalam Radio right here on Afema Land, and we'll see you another time. Do stay tuned and stay happy. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Qalam radio station Orlando. Mama, te papa, oh. Qalam radio station Orlando. Uncle, te brother, say. Qalam radio station Orlando. Te sister, te auntie, say. Qalam radio station Orlando. Dollar for FM Island. 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 Dollar. My good people of Federal Republic of Nigeria, yes, another ogbonge radio station don shele for FM Island. Dem dey call am Qalam. Qalam na another upgraded ogbonge radio station, and e get so many advantages. Advantages like you fit download am for inside Play Store, install am for your Android phone. You go dey use am dey listen to music. Even when you no dey online, na small chekele MB na e dey consume. Qalam don dey active like this for inside Play Store. Music from the 80s till this generation, dem gather for Qalam. The ogbonge matter now na e come be say Qalam dey deliver local and international news. Any kind of news wey you dey find, e dey inside Qalam. Qalam radio station, the voice of the people, the voice by the people, and the voice for the people. Another sweet thing about Qalam na be say if you get any business or any business idea wey you want make the whole world see, Qalam radio station should be your first choice. For education, promotions and entertainment, Qalam should be your first choice. Qalam take your voice to the world and bring the world to your doorstep. For FM Island, Qalam Dollar. Like this, Qalam don dey active in all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Qalam dey active. Bring your deals, make we deals. Dollar for FM Island. Qalam radio station Orlando. Dollar for FM Island. Qalam radio station Orlando. Dollar for FM Island. Qalam radio station Orlando.